Welcome to our Breakthrough Podcast, coming to you live from Ohio, taking you from a breakdown to a breakthrough, from pain to purpose, from your past to living your greatest story. Stay locked in. I'm your host, Vernaetaylor. Welcome, greetings, beautiful people. I am your host, Vernaetaylor, and you are listening to our Breakthrough Podcast, where we come together in this safe space to give you the breakthrough map and the tools to go from pain to purpose, from breakdown to breakthrough, from your past to living your greatest story. And I am super excited about the guest that we have today, Beth. I mean, there's so much to this woman that I really want for her to say for herself, but I'm excited about the story and the story behind the woman and the business and everything that she does. And we want you to take out your pen, take out your paper, make sure that you have something to really capture everything that she's going to deposit into us today. So Beth, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Renee, for having this podcast, their people, and give them tools through their own process. So I love it. Thank you for that. And thank you for inviting me.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Of course. It's a pleasure to have you here. So tell everybody who you are and what you do. Let's start.
All right. So who am I? I am Beth. My name actually means house in Hebrew. It's a Hebrew name. It means house.
I didn't know that.
No.
Fun fact.
It's a fun fact about who I am. So like a house has many rooms, I have many aspects to my, my business and what I am doing. So I'm a professional photographer and the owner of Babs Photography, LLC. I work for myself. I freelance. I travel. So yes. And also off of that, a few years ago in 2017, I launched a small business directory called the Big Black Book NYC, which you are in as an author in our video directory. So it's so nice having you there.
Thank you.
And it represents and lists, it's basically like a living Rolodex. And it lists Black-owned, Brown-owned, and women-owned businesses.
Yes.
And so you can do your shopping for the holidays or just in general, your business needs. There's business service categories, fitness categories.
You have like everything.
Yeah, one of our authors, well, actually, she's under the cooking and cuisine. She just became an author because she just published a cookbook.
Nice.
So there's like all sorts of things that you can find there. And then I'm also a confidence coach. So that's based off. Delve into that.
Yeah, we're going to delve into that. So a confidence coach. Yes. Okay.
Yes. So it might sound like it's really not related to everything else that I said, but it's actually really related to everything that I've just shared so far, because in business, we need confidence, right? We do have to there's a lot of hard knocks we take. A lot of times things fail, sometimes more often than they succeed.
Yeah.
And we really have to know who we are and our purpose. So we really have to have that confidence. Even when we're doubting ourselves, there still has to be in ourselves like that grit and that ability to say, no, this is something that I can do. So there is that confidence needed for business. And then also even in photography, before I became a confidence coach, we can talk about a little later why I did that, why I chose to do that. But I don't always work with models. In fact, most of my clients are just normal people. Even if they're business people, they're like normal people or actors. They're not professional models. And so I actually have to coach people a lot of times in front of the camera. And get them to feel comfortable and confident, and so much so that I created a guidebook that I give people.
Check you out.
Yes. To help them prepare for their photo shoots. And it's not just about the styling, but it's about that inner work to get ready to be in front of the camera so that people aren't saying, oh, I can't do my photo shoot yet because I'm 10 pounds too heavy, or, I don't like my teeth, or this or that, or something is wrong. And I've had people do some really interesting things because they don't like certain parts of themselves. So
Oh my goodness, Beth,
Yes.
you're talking to me, because when I tell you I just had to do a photo shoot and everything that you said, I said to myself. I was so apprehensive, like, oh gosh, I haven't done this in years. I'm not in the
Mhm.
body I want to be in. I'm like, oh gosh, do I still have it? I was all in my head, and I had to basically be my own confidence coach, right? Because
Yes.
now, I mean, I've been doing this long enough, but I love that. I love that you're multifaceted. You have a lot going on. I want to talk about this confidence piece. I mean, because that's a really big thing. When you say that you did a guidebook, like, that's important, that you really wanted to like arm people with, something tangible and practical. Like, this is how I want you to prepare, or this is how you can prepare for greatness, so that you can get in front of that camera and be like authentically you. Talk about what's in that guidebook, and how you arrived to this place that, like, okay, wow, they're missing something that maybe I have that I can give them, or maybe it's something that they have that I can bring out of them. So talk about that.
Well, it's kind of like what you said a little bit ago when you said you were in your head. So a lot of people are in their heads. You're not the only one. I've lived in my head. I still live in my head sometimes.
Okay.
And it's about, transforming the thought process. So basically what I'm getting you to do now, the whole guidebook is not like self-confidence building. There are practical things like who you could book if you were in the New York City area, for example, for a makeup artist.
Okay.
And, there are like practical getting ready to do your photo shoot tips. But the first part is like getting conscious in your head about the good things, like releasing what is not, perfect at this moment. And we're never going to be perfect,
Right.
whatever that means. And yes,
I know, whatever Beyonce said, it's not you.
Exactly. We all woke up like this, right?
Right.
So yeah, so it's about like really helping someone transform their thought process, or looking at themselves a little differently, because sometimes we're really not going to get out of our heads.
Okay.
There's a really famous book that I read before I became a confidence coach, and it's by Joyce Myers, called Battlefield of the Mind. And
yes,
that was actually,
I love her. I know her very well.
That was actually my second book that I read on my own personal healing journey. And it is, our minds do like have all sorts of crazy thoughts go through them every day. So, just having a way to remind ourselves when our thoughts start going in a direction that is not healthy for us.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You said some really great things. I mean, I think, first of all, you said inner work. That's amazing, right? Because when you're showing up to a photo shoot, or you're a model, or you're an actor, you're an artist, you're not thinking about this inner work, right? You're thinking about getting it done, getting your lines, making sure you're making your marks. And some people, really, when you think about how fleeting life is, they don't have time, right? People are like, I don't have time. I don't have time, because you're not even sitting still. People aren't even sitting with themselves in order to do this work, and then take it one step further, inner work. So I love that. And I love how you talked about transforming thought processes. Talk about your healing journey, and I love that you gave us a nice reference, so that people can actually go and maybe pick up that book, because Joyce Meyer, I mean, she's amazing when it comes to my devotions, when it comes to my healing and past situations and scenarios that I had to work through. She was definitely someone that helped with that, reading her books and listening to her sermons. So talk a little bit about Beth, just Beth the woman, right? Apart from this mogul, this businesswoman, this coach, talk about your healing process and how you arrived to this place that you wanted to give this to other people.
So sure. I think if you know me, I'm always up to something.
Yes. Yes, you are.
So it's good. And then there is also some, downsides to that. And like you had mentioned earlier about people being so busy. So I think, even just in growing up in my healing journey, what happened is I also went back to, my past. So I had a major life moment that really kind of derailed me, and psychologically and emotionally. So that it was a rape. And then I decided, yes. So I didn't feel so good about myself. I wanted to be not really with me.
Okay.
I was like, well, if I could leave my body, that would be nice.
Wow. Okay.
But, you know, so my emotions, my mind, they were not really in a healthy place. But I thought that I could just push through things. And, if I could just move on, meet someone new, and, just keep going in life, it would be fine. It's a terrible idea.
Wow. I know. My goodness. Okay.
So I don't recommend it. And what happened is, of course, it didn't work for many reasons. There were many reasons that it didn't work, beyond just me being a mess. But, me being a mess did not help.
Right.
So,
well, rightfully so, right? What you were going through, right? It's messy, right? It's not something expected. So I appreciate you telling us that. But yeah, so you recognize that wasn't the right way to do it. So then where did you arrive to this place where you got to a good place of healing?
So it took a while. So initially I was in denial, and I wanted to just kind of push and continue even after the heartbreak, which was not fun, right? I just wanted to keep going. And it took me a long time, about a year, before I could say out loud what had happened to me.
Wow. So you held that in and didn't tell anybody?
I could not do it. And I will say that would be my number one tip, is that when we hold something inside, even though it's painful, it may feel embarrassing. It becomes like a huge power. It's like this shadow, and it will choke you. It's like death. It's like a death shadow. Because you're just embarrassed, and you don't want people to find out about this dirty secret, because you might feel dirty, whatever it happens to be. Everyone has a different thing that they're struggling with. But so it was about a year before I said out loud, to no one in particular, I was raped, and I lied to the man I loved about it, and I lied to those I love about it. Because I did try a couple times to explain and express to people what happened to me, but I couldn't. Like, there was that pride aspect too.
Yeah. Of course, right. And that's natural, right? We all have pride,
Yeah. So it's like, well, he tried to sexually assault me. Like, I kind of tried to tell, and then I couldn't. Even a couple people who I knew wouldn't judge me. But so when I released it just to no one, it was like instant. Like, there was like this break, and that shadow, it wasn't. There's still a lot of work that I had to do, obviously, but it just wasn't there. It wasn't like, it was like the secret was out. So for, you don't have to tell the whole world.
Right.
You don't have to get on a podcast and share your story.
Right.
So I
know, right?
that.
That's how we do it. That's the American way now. Get on social media. Tell everybody.
No, you don't have to. But whatever it is, in whatever way it is, it does need to come out. And that was really, my first step to healing. Even though I had read, actually prior to admitting what had happened, like a book on Fervent on how to pray. So I was like trying to figure my life out and starting to heal. And then I read Joyce Meyer's around the time that I was releasing things for the first time. But on my journey, I also not only had to heal from like the rape, but like things from before, things from my 20s. And even teen years.
So all those things kind of just came back up naturally, or you went back to revisit and reflect?
I felt like there was a lot that, it's like, a lot of people say like peel an onion. I feel like it's an overused metaphor, but it is kind of like that. There are many layers, and like an onion, I cry anywhere near an onion. So
right.
Through all these layers.
And I'm sure with all of that, we're crying and releasing all of that.
Yeah. So when you go back, you realize that there are certain things or certain reasons you may have made a choice that ultimately landed you in a situation you really didn't want to be in.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, that's
to have that realization. Well, first off, Beth, thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for whoever's listening that maybe is going through the same thing, that they can feel safe and feel bold and brave enough to go ahead and release it. And I love that you talked about saying it out loud, because I am definitely, I'm an advocate when it comes to that. Get it out of your body. So, like you said, you don't have to shout at the mountaintops or get on social media or get on a conference call, but to say it out loud to yourself, to accept it and acknowledge this thing happened to me and it shouldn't have happened. It's not my fault. And, is really powerful. So thank you for sharing that. And then the fact that you talked about your past, because that's what our Breakthrough Podcast is about, right? Going from our past and then saying, okay, I'm going to write my story the way I want it now, right? I can't change the way it was, but I'm going to write it now. So talk about how you got to this space of empowerment, because my goodness, how powerful it is that you said, okay, now I'm going to pour into other people. Now I'm going to give them the guidebook. Now I'm going to build them up with the confidence. How did you get to that person?
Well, I wasn't really excited about it.
No?
No.
Well, how did you get here?
I mean, I like to help people. I do like to help people, but it's not easy sometimes. So, ultimately my desire to help people is what pushes me. Okay. And so I did start, actually, I haven't told anyone this yet, but I just had exclusive. A chat yesterday with a woman that I think I'm going to work with. I haven't, gone all the way through, but I wrote a book and I just spoke with this woman about the editing and the publishing yesterday. So we'll see. But
wait, so you wrote a book?
I did. It's written.
Oh my God, this is an exclusive, guys. This is an exclusive. Oh my goodness.
It needs some help, the editing and everything.
I love it.
But yes, so I started writing it. And as I was writing it, I started writing it the end of August of 2020.
Okay.
And as I started writing it, I also was noticing around me, 2020 was just bad for people.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right? It was bad for the whole world.
Right.
And a lot of people had similar things probably happen to them where they may have been in a violent relationship that they now need to heal from, because maybe they couldn't. I thankfully, thank God, didn't live with this man. And, I was able to, have a separate physical space with him.
Okay.
Right. But not everyone has that option. Right. So who knows, maybe people were in a situation where they've had people putting all sorts of poison or toxic thought processes, or breaking their thought process so that they don't have their identity anymore. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I started thinking about that as I was writing out my story. And then, also the book's eventually going to come out. And so I was like, well, would I just be like, hi, I have a book? Or I would need to, have something leading up to it for it to even make sense. Okay. So that was another thing. I thought the book was going to be out a little bit sooner than it is.
That's okay. Listen, you can't rush greatness, okay? No. Let it take its time, because I tell you, I mean, you're in the right place. And the fact that you're living, breathing, and walking in the work, right? That book is just icing on the cake, essentially, right? Because you're already doing the work. So I think that's just amazing that you're giving somebody something tangible that they can take with them, the same way that book that you read of Joyce Meyer's, what it did for you is now what this book can do for them. If maybe they don't do your program, or maybe they don't see you on a live, or they're not able to get a hold of the guidebook because they didn't invest. You know what I mean? It's great that book can reach people beyond, right? And that's your legacy. So I am super excited about that. So I mean, and it's going to come out exactly when it needs to. So I appreciate that you share that with us, because it's going to be powerful. And you're right when you said that there are some women that are in these violent or volatile spaces that maybe doesn't look like, I'm putting my hand on you, or I'm violating your body. But like you said, it's the emotional and the mental breakdown that I think a lot of people are in. And I love that the work that you're doing is allowing them or helping them to recognize, something maybe is not right here. This is attacking my person, or attacking who it is that I want to be. When you spoke about identity, which is so powerful. So good work. I love what you're doing. Talk
Thank
a
you.
little bit about the photography. I know that you said that it came down to the space where you realized you were already coaching people. You're kind of like giving them like this little pick me up, like, all right, you got it, you got it.
You look beautiful. You look handsome. You're amazing.
Right. So talk about what was the defining moment when you were like, okay, this is an extra service that I need to like make a business, that I need to fully solidify, where now you are calling yourself, you're taking on a whole new identity of confidence coach. What was the turning point or defining moment for that?
Well, I think when for the actual coaching or deciding that I was like actively going to intentionally help people with healing, redefining their identity, and having that confidence, that was really when I started writing the book.
Okay.
And I,
Okay.
yeah, and I was
Nice. So
like,
2020.
I also need to share these things because there's a lot of people who are hurting, and it is a process. I still have moments myself, right, where I get afraid in certain situations, and I'm like, oh.
I know. How do you do that? How do you work through those things? Because as a confidence coach, it's funny because when we say coach and we talk about all these different titles that we have, right? I always struggle with those titles because I'm like, well, gosh, I don't have it all together. Like, what do I look like calling myself this, right? So talk about what you tell yourself in those moments, right? Because they say a coach needs a coach. They need their own coach.
Yeah.
Right? A therapist needs their own therapist. Like we all need our own accountability partner, if you will. So talk about what does Beth say to herself when she's got to pick herself up, when she's got to go to work, when she's got to, be the cheerleader for that person that she's getting ready to photograph. Talk about the conversations you have with yourself in that time.
So 2 things. So my 2 favorite things to remind myself. So I should also say that my coaching at the root of it, at the heart of it, is all Christian based, because I feel that like I do not have a very broad perspective of Beth. I have my perspective of Beth, like based on like the experiences I have had, right?
Okay.
But my creator has had like an eternal perspective and like sees other things about me. So the 2 things that I remind myself personally that help me in my own dialogue when I get into my head is I am loving and I am loved. Okay. And the other thing is that Sorry, I just had a text message flash.
Oh, that's funny that it does that.
Swipe it up.
At the same time.
Yes. So I am a new woman, and the old has passed away. Wow. So these are both, based on scriptures, but reminding myself that, it is the past, and, I am safe now. I think a lot of times we have to remind ourselves, like in a moment, especially if you're feeling like your physical safety might be threatened, that like you are safe. And like sometimes I'll just like visualize, God putting angels around my door and like actually having that hedge of protection around me. So sometimes it actually takes me visualizing like an actual physical barrier that's protecting me and keeping me safe.
Nice.
Because even in that situation that happened, God still protected me, and it may sound odd to people, that how could God have protected you when you were being raped? But to be honest, I feel that he did, because I can react 1 or 2 ways in situations, and I don't always know how I'm going to react. Sometimes I'll shut down and just do nothing. And sometimes I'll like act out and get a little crazy, and I shut down. Like I didn't do anything, but I was in my kitchen and I was near knives. And so what if I had not? And what if I had tried to attack him? Well, he was like really good at wrestling. So I could have ended up dead if I'd actually tried to like, defend myself, possibly, right? So, I used to like beat myself up. Like, why did I shut down? Why didn't I try to fight him off? I mean, verbally, I was trying to fight him off. I was like, I don't want your book. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But, so verbally, my mouth was saying, I don't want you. But physically, I couldn't, like, I just shut down. But I think, honestly, and I've listened to neurologists, and it's that fight or flight. And sometimes people do just shut down. It's like just the way our brain sometimes chooses to protect us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do feel that like even in that moment, I was still being protected.
Wow. That is such a profound perspective. First of all, Beth, thank you for introducing that into the conversation, right? Spirituality and your faith is really, 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 really significant when it comes to healing, when it comes to just growth into this journey we call life. And so I love that you brought that into the conversation about the protection and the fact that you could arrive to this perspective, even though you were being abused and heavily violated. That is just so major and big of you that you were able to come to that space knowing like, wow, we talk about what if this happened, but I like that you talked about and you positioned it, well, what could have happened? Like, you know what I mean? The worst that could have happened. That thankfully I'm still here. Thankfully I'm still breathing. Thankfully I'm alive. I don't look like what I've been through. I may have the scars where people can't visibly see it, or the scars on my heart, but the fact that you're here alive, breathing and well and courageous enough to share your story to help someone else is major. So that's wow, because I don't know that I could position that way. We don't know the things that we don't know, right? And a lot of times if we haven't gone through a situation, I couldn't even tell you what I would do. When you say, oh, this whole idea of shutting down, there's no telling, right? We haven't, we've never been there before. We don't even know how to deal with it and prepare for it. So, oh my goodness, thank you for sharing that. I want to reiterate some of the things that you've been talking about because you have dropped so many nuggets. The work that you're doing is so beautiful. It is so necessary in this world because a lot of people are hurting. And some people don't even know why they're hurting, right? Because you said that you went back to your past. Some people need to go back to the root of it and figure out, why do we have these limiting beliefs? Why do we show up in the world this way or that way? Why do we accept certain things or not recognize that it's something that's not good for us, right? Even when we think about relationships, right? When we talked about, this toxic nature that, relationships can take on. So it's beautiful that you're arming people with the tools and the knowledge, right? To know what doesn't feel right or what doesn't seem right. So I love that you talked about visualization, visualizing angels. I could picture it because I'm a visual person. I could picture the angels because that's something I pray. I pray, Lord, please encamp your angels around me. I put on the whole armor of God, and I will say that. And there's actually Psalm 91 is my favorite verse that I would read every day from the top of the pandemic. Now I have it to memory, so I just kind of speak it every day. So I love that you talked about that. And I really love these affirmations that you say to yourself. That is so key. And I am loving and I am loved. That's beautiful. Yeah. And the part about, I'm a new woman, right? That the old has passed away. And that is something to really repeat as well, because you're not that person that was scared. You're not the person that actually was attacked. You're now this powerful force, being able to tell her story and being able to deposit that into other people. And so, wow, you're not the same. You're not the same. You're ever evolving. And thank God for it, because now we can be on the receiving end of all of the greatness that you have.
Thank you.
And I love that you shared, of course, The Battlefield of the Mind, which is a really great reference for people that are listening. Pick that up. And then, of course, the book, the exclusive that you heard here, when that comes out, we're going to make sure that we invite Beth back so that you guys know exactly where you can pick that up and where you can get that, because now she's going to be pouring in her story and her experiences and her tools and tips into that book so that she can assist you where you are and meet you where you are. And I love that you said that you always desire to help people. And so what a courageous thing to have gone through what you went through, but then still be in a level of service, right? Because this could have went another way. You could have been bitter. You could have been begrudged. You could have, like you said, shut down completely to the world to the point where you didn't want to talk about it. You might have held it in. You might have been, kind of in bondage. And then we wouldn't have all these beautiful things that have come after it. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sharing your story so candidly and transparently like you did. I want people to know where they can find you and follow up with you and talk a little bit about what you are promoting right now in either of your businesses that they can tap into.
Oh, sure. So you can find me. You can go to my Instagram page called @Babs, BABS. So Babs Photography LLC. You can also go to my website, which is www.babsphotographyllc.com. And I almost forgot the .com because there's also a website domain name. So .com.
Yes.
And there's, you can access my photography service information. People can also access my courses through there for healing and redefining identity. They can also even access business resources. So I also have a guidebook for business owners on how to start their business on a strong foundation. So
nice.
All of that is, different pages on the website, but everything is there. And my email is a little bit different, but for the coaching, you can email at me at levelupwithbeth@gmail.com.
Okay, level up with Babs.
No, with Beth.
Oh, Beth. Okay.
With Beth.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, that one I just recently decided to add. I'm going to see how it goes before I actually pay for a professional email. Just to see how it goes, because I want it. I need to, I think, differentiate from a business perspective a little bit from my photography and my coaching and everything. So, yeah.
Nice. Oh, yes. Yeah. And we'll make sure that we have all of that linked up for anybody that wants to definitely check in with you, because there's so much that you're offering, and honestly, the world needs it. You heard it here, guys. I mean, this was a really good one. With our Breakthrough Podcast. I am your host, Vernaetaylor, and this is the safe space where we can break down and talk to you and give you the breakthrough map through our stories and through our testimonies on how to go from breakdown to breakthrough, from your pain to purpose, and from your past. And as Beth has said, daring to live your greatest story. Tapping into your past, but understanding that you don't have to stay there and you don't have to stay stuck, and that you're ever evolving. And so we really appreciate you spending time with us today. Make sure that you like and subscribe our Breakthrough Podcast on all media platforms, and make sure you tap in and plug into what Beth is offering, and we'll make sure we have all that information for you later. But until next time, keep breaking through. Thanks so much for being with us today. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to our Breakthrough Podcast, where we learn to navigate life's challenges and dare to live our greatest story. Follow our Breakthrough Podcast across all media platforms and subscribe. I'm your host, Vernaetaylor. Till next time, keep breaking through.